Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday. I wanted my upload day to be Tuesday because Tuesday was feeling like a lighter day for work and everything. But I'm glad that I had the time today because I was like, what should be my second video? And I figured since I wanted to talk about medical trauma, lifestyle, things like that, I thought I would just tell my trauma story, which I think is an important one given that I am a therapist who works with a lot of traumatized clients um, and aspire to be a medical trauma therapist or a therapist that specializes in medical trauma. So, what I hope to do today is just go through my trauma story, go through when I realized I was traumatized. I think there was like quite a bit of denial and hopefully raise some awareness about medical trauma and how common it is for Black women, for women with endometriosis, and how we may not know that that's what's going on. So I'm just going to start with the first time I noticed that I was having a hard time coping with what was happening to me medically. And mind you, I was still working, doing a good job at my job and stuff like that. But just having a hard time outside of the therapy room for others and my personal life. And I just remember like I'll be turned on, not turned on sexually, y'all, don't get nasty, but like my brain will be turned on and firing well, and I'm like listening and responding and giving resources and connecting pieces and doing all the stuff that you need to do as a good therapist. And as soon as I turned off my camera and disconnected for the day, I was like crying on my own in my apartment, struggling with suicidal ideation, feeling like a increase in pain after too, and just feeling like low motivation, thinking about the things that had happened to me. Like I could just I'll be sitting on my couch usually, and I can turn and look out the window, and looking out the window will just bring back all these memories of all this pain. And then there's like other reminders in my home, like my walker from when I had emergency back surgery in California on Christmas Eve in 2021. And like sometimes I'll just be like feeling sorry for myself and thinking like, man, like I've had all these surgeries and I'm always in pain, and it's like I have so many goals and aspirations. Like I want to start a non-for-profit, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to go back to school, I want to get my PhD. Like I have all these dreams, and sometimes I'll just like look at myself in the mirror and just be like, well, you can't do it. And other signs and symptoms of trauma that I didn't notice was just like sometimes getting very angry and irritable with people in my life who I knew loved and cared for me, but just did not go through what I went through and just could not understand, right? And then just like wanting to isolate. Like I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want to go out with friends. I didn't want to answer text messages or the phone. I just wanted to just be in my own head, right? Because everything was so overwhelming. And I'm not an angry person, but when you get me there, you get me there, okay? If you've been on the other side of my anger, I'm sorry. But I generally like to be cheerful and goofy, and I just noticed it was very hard for me to be my usual self, right? Because I was just so overwhelmed with what was happening to me and continuing to happen. And I decided to get help. I did go to a trauma therapist. And I don't know what it is with some of my fellow therapists. I think sometimes they're a little intimidated. There is a benefit to having some mystery in therapeutic work, right? And some people may think this is outdated. I'm pretty transparent. Like, I'll share your diagnosis and things with you. I'm not trying to keep the mystery because I think that's what makes me more effective. But it's just a fact of therapy, right? It's just like, if you know everything, you're not going to be receptive to that guidance or that different perspective taking or interventions, right? So I do think that some therapists are just they overthink it and can inadvertently do some harm, right? Because like, I went to one trauma therapist and we were doing somatic therapy actually, which was extremely helpful because being traumatized from medical things that have happened to you really disconnects you from your body. Like, the only times I was aware of my body is when I was in pain. So like during my cycle, if I had a lot of pain, like that's when I was aware of my body, like aware of discomfort, never aware of like when my body was just neutral or wasn't in pain. And so I started seeing this therapist and they were really helpful in the somatic piece. But as we were working through some things, they realized that I may be struggling with complex PTSD. And they had suggested we do EMDR, which I think is eye movement, rapid desensitization therapy. I'm not that great with acronyms, so fact check me in the comments, okay? But when I started talking more about the deeper feelings and like the grief, the trauma, the depression, the anxiety, this therapist pulled away from me, right? Like, I was like, I just poured my heart out to you in session. And at the end of session, it's just like, well, reach out to me if you want to make another appointment. And it's just like, but why wouldn't I want to make another appointment with you when I just poured my heart out to you? And I could just tell like this therapist just couldn't hold what was going on for me. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt and I returned a second time after my most recent surgery in April 2024, because that was a whole nother thing. I'm gonna have to do a whole separate video on just like the events of the traumas, right? Because I think people need to understand I don't look like what I've been through, but I've been through some stuff, okay? And I think that's why I'm so passionate, and I want to put this stuff out there for people who just may not know, especially people who look like me, right? Women who are Black or women of color who historically have just haven't had access to the best care, right? And knowledge. But I digress. So I went back to this therapist, told everything that happened, told them everything that happened to me in the hospital in April, having 2 hospital stays, all these things. And the look on the therapist's face, like you could just tell, like they was like, that's too much. And they did the same thing again. Like, oh, like reach out to me if you need anything. It sounds like you're doing a lot of things to help yourself. And I'm just like, yeah, I have some core knowledge because I work with this population. I'm a therapist too. But like, I can't untraumatize myself alone, right? Like you need therapy. You need to process. You need to talk about it. You need to change your relationship to the memories. You need to reframe your thoughts. You need to manage your anxiety. You need to manage depression and like your nervous system being in overdrive and that contributing to more pain and suffering. Like there's so much you need to do in the therapy room. But just feeling like this person couldn't hold what happened to me really deterred me from continuing to go to them. So I ended up going to someone else who has been great. And then I did end up reaching out to a trusted colleague and asked for recommendations. Shout out to Brave Providers and Jenny Hughes for really helping me and listening to me and understanding that I needed support too, right? Like therapists need support too. And I started trauma therapy with a trauma therapist. But yeah, to trauma, there's so many different reactions to trauma, so many ways that the body and the brain try to protect you from another threat or also from a prolonged threat, because medical trauma is like a prolonged threat, right? It's like you have another surgery, you have another medical crisis, you have to go back to the doctor, you have to go back to the imaging center, you gotta go to the surgical center and like re-experience all this stuff. And it's not like you can avoid it forever, because the consequences can be disastrous, right? If you avoid medical care when you need it, right? Exhibit A, right? Just avoiding the knowledge at the beginning of this year that I may need another surgery, and just being like, well, I ain't going through all this again. I'm not going to this specialist and I'm not doing this. And so I ended up in the emergency room the day before my birthday in March in excruciating pain. And I was just like, okay, something is definitely not right. Like something is wrong. And I need to go to someone who will take me seriously and try to help me. But all of these things are traumatizing. It's just like, even some of the beliefs you develop, like, no one's going to help me. I'm going to get so sick one day, my life is going to be destroyed. Like, I'm just going to be maimed, right? And I don't think I ever feared dying, right? Because what do we always say about endometriosis? It's a non-lethal disease. Like, people don't die from endometriosis, but people die from endometriosis, okay? Like, it's a very serious disease. And I'm not trying to scare my endo sisters, because I know we all scared already, right? Like, we're going through a lot. But it's a serious disease. It's a serious disease that should be taken seriously, and we should seek adequate care, even though it is traumatizing and exhausting and overwhelming. So there's just like so many things I was just like struggling with and experiencing that led me to kind of connect the dots to like, oh, I'm traumatized, right? Like, why am I waking up in the morning and I see one of the scars on my abdomen and I feel pain there months later when it's already closed up, it's healed great. And I'm like having flashbacks to like a drainage tube coming out of that area, and the catheter in the drainage box filled with all kinds of fluids like blood and stuff coming out of my lady bits. Like, there's just like a lot. Remembering getting just remembering like what my body had been through, like every morning when I saw my body, or when I wasn't on for work and focused on other things, like just thinking about these things all the time. I think I may drop a list of common reactions to trauma, because I think another thing that's important to note is this, like, everyone has reactions to trauma, but for some people it's prolonged, and that's when it becomes like something like post-traumatic stress disorder or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. There's a lot of myths about who would be diagnosed with PTSD. I know that, or post-traumatic stress disorder, I know that complex PTSD or complex post-traumatic stress disorder is not an official diagnosis in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, 5th edition, or the DSM-5. I'm hoping it's added, because I see it a lot, and I've experienced it, or am experiencing it. I may be wrong, but I think in Europe, it's considered an official diagnosis. I did a training the other day, and I believe it's considered an official diagnosis. So I hope that we get that here, because I think it will help so many people get the help that they need and understand what's going on for them. But yeah, I just wanted to talk more about just being a therapist and knowing or realizing that I was traumatized, while working with traumatized people, right? I think it can be like a sobering fact, just kind of like, oh, like why didn't I realize this sooner? If I can realize this working with a client like very quickly, right? And I think there's an element of denial. It's just because I think as therapists, we think that because we know this stuff that we shouldn't struggle as deeply with some things. But I say this to my clients all the time because my clients are amazing. And I feel like they ask such deep, meaningful questions. And I remember someone asked me like, how do you do this work? Or like, how can you still show up to sessions sometimes and smile and be this way and not be down? Or like, do you have struggles? Like things like that. And I'm just laughing to myself because I'm like, I have so many struggles, okay? I am on the struggle bus. The bus broke down a couple times and had no tires and no gas. Okay, like bus struggling on the side of the road. Right now, the bus is kind of rolling along a little bit. Still beat up. It's still a struggle. But it's like therapists have struggles too. Therapists can be traumatized too. Therapists can be diagnosed with bipolar disorder too. Therapists can be neurodivergent too. They can have ADHD. They can be on the autism spectrum. They can have so many of the same things. Like we're still human. And I think sometimes when we work with people, people don't get to see the human part of us as much because it's not about us. It's about you and your care and what you need. But I love when clients are like so mindful and give you an invitation to be human in an appropriate way, right? Because like I've heard some stories and I'm just like, that's not appropriate. But to be human, and it's just like, I think for me, I was just in a lot of denial about the fact that I could be traumatized. Like I was just kind of like, well, if I could recognize it in someone else so quickly, why can't I recognize it in myself? Or like, well, the things that happened to me were bad, but I don't think they were really traumatic. And then also just thinking about myself historically, like I am a key downplayer. I'm just gonna downplay what happened, even though it was a lot for me. Like even the emergency back surgery in California on Christmas Eve in 2021, like that was a frightening experience, right? I don't think it was my worst experience. I think April here has taken the cake, but like, I think when I lean into it openly and really think about how I felt and what was happening, it was some really traumatic, scary stuff. And I think that denial, that, self-invalidation about my experiences also made me invalidate the fact that I may be traumatized, right? I'm just like, it's not normal to wake up and literally visualize tubes hanging out of you and what you looked like when you were in the hospital and what you felt like. It's not normal. It's like I should not be flashbacking to the things that happened to me and then become upset about it, right? Like that's trauma. That's like ongoing traumatization. And I know this video is getting long. I didn't want it to be too long, so I'm gonna end it. But or maybe I'll do it in parts because I know we ain't got no attention span. I ain't got no attention span, okay? I'm not gonna sit and watch a 20-minute video all the time either. But I just want to kind of wrap up with this, is that I think we need to be more honest with ourselves and what hurts, especially women of color. Like I feel like we're superheroes. We're always caping for everyone. We're like the healers, the lovers of the world. Most of the trauma therapists I had met before I joined Brave Providers were women who had been traumatized themselves, right? Especially Black women. And I just remember being a counseling student and I was like, I am not working with trauma, okay? Never that. And now it's like, if I don't get someone that has trauma, I'm just like, I can help you and I want to help you and I value you, but it's like, I really want to help this person who's probably like stuck in this loop of suffering and pain because they're traumatized, right? So I think just a word to therapists, like getting training in recognizing trauma, especially complex PTSD, because I think it's more common than we may think. And especially for women of color, or especially Black women, like it may be present, but the person is still functioning. Like I was still functioning. I just did not function well outside of work and my responsibilities. I just did not. Lots of like broken relationships, conflict, isolation, depression, anxiety, flashbacking to the things that had happened to my body, extreme worry about what's next for me. It's like at this point, I'm subscribed to the surgery every 2 years bundle. Okay. So it's like I'm 6 months post this major surgery that I'm going to make another video and talk about. And I feel really good physically and mentally, right? There's still some things that trigger me or bring up the trauma of what has happened to my body. And I still have some worries, quite a bit of worries, but it's possible to heal from trauma, and it's necessary to heal from trauma by going to trauma therapy and also working on some things outside of therapy for yourself. So I'm going to make another part to this because I realized I wanted to tell my trauma story, but I didn't really talk about the details of the trauma, right? The traumatic events. And I think I'm going to make this 2 parts and release them around the same time. And so people can kind of hear the actual story of some of the things that have happened to me. And I'll have to put a trigger warning on there because I know it can be pretty triggering, especially if you have medical trauma. It's just kind of going to be like, oh man, like that happened to me, or just like this happened to me too. So I'm going to make another video. Drop your questions, comments in the comment section. I'm pretty diligent of responding to comments, and I really pride myself on being open, right, and transparent. I think those are some of my core values as a person and as a clinician. So if you have questions, nothing's too searching or out there, right? If it can help you, I will be happy to answer as best as I can. And then another caveat, I don't have all the answers. Like I'm still getting training. I'm still learning new things every day. I'm still new to some of the trauma work, right? I'm not green, but I'm still learning, and I'm excited, right? I had posted this on my Instagram the other day. Like I'm reading this book, like Managing Psychological Impact of Medical Trauma. And then I had also got this book as well. I'm pretty sure I kind of know a lot of it, but I do want to make sure I have a really detailed understanding of psychophysiologic disorders. So I got this book as well, and I look forward to reading it. And I also got this book, the Complex PTSD Workbook. I can't wait to dig into this and also like make copies of exercises and stuff to use with my clients and even use with myself. So I also hope to do some posting about like the books I read and things like that, so other people can read and get that knowledge and things too. But I just want to thank everyone for sticking around and listening to part 1 of my trauma story. I'm going to make another video and share that and really just talk about the timeline of my trauma and like how many years it even took me to realize that I was traumatized, despite the timeline of the trauma, like the continuous traumatic events. So I look forward to continuing this story and talking with you guys. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Happy Sunday. This video was made on October 6th. I'm hoping it goes out today. If it doesn't, I will put it on my posting day of Tuesday, or put it out sometime this week while I have the extra time before my schedule changes on October 21st. So have a wonderful Sunday. I am going to go shopping and just spend some time with myself. I've been working this week, okay? So I really want to just unwind, focus on myself, do some meal prep, do some cleaning, do some reading, watch some TV, and then also go shopping. I wanted to get some work pants because of like all the abdominal surgeries I had. There's so much like fear or like psychological fear of wearing pants with zippers and buttons. Like I just don't want anything pressing on my abdomen, but I'm working on challenging that avoidance because there's no reason for me not to. Before I couldn't because it actually hurt. Now it doesn't hurt, but it's still the idea creates anxiety for me. So I'm challenging myself to go buy some pretty zipped up button pants today that I can wear and challenge that avoidance and that fear around having things pressing on my poor tummy that has been through so much. So again, have a blessed day. I will talk to you guys soon, and thanks for listening. Bye.